What's going on, y'all? We are live here on the No Ceilings NBA Draft Show here on the No Ceilings NBA YouTube channel. And I'm here to give my immediate reactions to what we all just saw from the game that we just witnessed between the Kansas Jayhawks and the North Carolina Tar Heels. Remember, this is not a podcast. This is simply me breaking down a couple of quick things that I saw throughout the game. And we have to start with the fact that this draft class now looks as if you have the fourth pick. You're still pretty excited because a guy like Caleb Wilson will probably still be on the board when pick number 4 rolls around. As it sits today, who knows what's going to happen moving forward? But we have to start with Caleb Wilson, who set the tone immediately in this game. Immediately, the very first points of this game came from a missed shot. I even forget who it was from North Carolina who missed the shot, but I'm glad they did because Caleb Wilson skies in the air for a two-handed jam putback. That set the tone for the rest of the game. My man finished with 24 points, 7 boards, 4 assists, 4 steals, only 1 turnover on the game. He was 9 of 12 from the floor. By the way, he missed his only 3-point shot, but no one really cares, especially me. And he was, I'll say, only 6 of 9 from the free throw line, showing a little bit of cause for concern on the jumper in that regard. But if you watch the game, he has insane touch. I don't even know where to start with him because he starts off the game with this crazy run jump exhibition, demonstration, expose that he puts on from just being an athletic finisher, running all over the floor. Then he starts demonstrating some passing stuff. Listen, I watched him over the summer just like I watched every other top freshman prospect coming into the year. I did not know that we were going to be seeing a passing bag like this from the guy. I'm not saying he's Kyrie Irving or anything like that, but the high-low game that we saw from him and Henry Vasar, who we might talk about here in a little bit, was just unreal. Finishing with 4 assists and only 1 turnover from an athletic finishing forward standpoint is just ridiculous. It's crazy stuff. Nothing that I thought that we were going to see from this year. So we talked about the run jump stuff. What really shocked me the most in this game was just the unreal demonstration that he gave from the mid-range. We were freaking out over Koa Pete, rightfully so. I mean, Koa Pete did things in his opening game that really opened a lot of our eyes. Caleb Wilson being able to hit these insane fall-away middies, hanging in the air, waiting until the last second to release the shot over a defense that's closing out for the jumper and still being able to connect is just, I was not expecting to see this from him. Now, all the scoring stuff is great. The dunks are fantastic. These fall away mid-range shots that look like they belong on a Michael Jordan Gatorade commercial, they're fine. They're just nice and dandy. But what really made me fall in love with Caleb Wilson in this game was the winning stuff. Now, what do I mean by the winning stuff? Well, for starters, anytime there was a loose ball, it doesn't matter if it was in Caleb's vicinity or not. Caleb Wilson dove on the ground and just attacked the ball. He was one of the hardest working players on the game, and it just shows up. The saying in basketball, ball don't lie. The ball doesn't lie. The ball is going to find its way to the person who works the hardest for the ball. The ball does not lie on free throws, and it does not lie on effort either. And we saw that time and again from Caleb Wilson. Now, it wasn't just the loose balls even. The 7 rebounds that he got, I loved. I mean, absolutely, I'm gushing over the fact that Caleb Wilson was not fine just letting a ball come to him on rebounds. He attacked the glass. Not only did he attack the glass, but he cleared out anybody who was trying to rebound over him. In fact, when Flory Badunga, who is one of the best, or Badunga, excuse me, is one of the better rebounders in college basketball. He's a little undersized as a big man, but he is a hard-nosed, high effort, high motor, high energy big man. He came down with a rebound, and Caleb Wilson just snatched it out of Flory's hands. I was not expecting to see so much hustle, effort, and intensity from Caleb Wilson. My goodness, what a showing for the fresh. And again, if I'm an NBA team and I'm stinking this year and I don't have the top 3 pick in a draft that looks like it's going to be outfitted to be an all-timer, if the early season is any sort of indication, if I have the 4th pick and I can look at a guy like Caleb Wilson along with what we saw from Koa Pete and some other freshmen who are showing signs that are still alive in this draft, by the way, because it's so early in the year, I'm just like, okay, shucks, I only get to get Caleb Wilson in this draft. Excuse me while I'm still excited. Okay, so enough. I feel like I could do the whole 15, 20 minutes, whatever I'm going to get to tonight, just on Caleb Wilson, but we're going to bounce because this is not a podcast. Stop calling it that. Darren Peterson. We were talking about how Cam Boozer had a tale of two halves the last time we were on here. It was Tyler Metcalf and myself. We were talking about a tale of two halves. I feel like Darren Peterson had a tale of two halves. Now, it's not that he didn't score in any of the halves like we saw from Cam Boozer. Darren Peterson finished with 22 points. In fact, he had 11 in each one, but it felt like the first half was a lot more productive, a lot more just oomph to his game. And DP in the second half just kind of fell back to earth a little bit, is what it felt like. Even though he struggled with fouls in the first half, and Coach Self was figuring out like how much can I go without DP. And by the way, when Peterson was out of the game, we see the fatal flaws that Kansas has on this roster. You're trusting a lot. This Ferrari that Bill Self has in his garage, he is trying to balance how much he's just going to floor it with Darren Peterson, or is he just kind of nurse him a little bit and maybe make him his daily driver, but still get some of the other cars out of the garage a little bit. DP finished with 22 points on 8 of 14 scoring, which is still good. He had 3 boards, 3 assists, 2 steals, 1 block, 3 turnovers, one of which was probably, if I could ever have a favorite turnover, it was after he blocked a shot. He chased the ball going out of bounds, went for a behind the back save, and whipped it to Caleb Wilson. Like, DP assisted Caleb Wilson on one of his 24 points because that behind the back save went right into Caleb Wilson's hands for a dunk. I love the hustle that I saw from our guy Darren out there. He was 3 of 5 from deep. So again, showing good touch from the 3-point line. Was only 3 of 5 from the charity stripe. We were talking about this with Cam Boozer. If this is a down game for Darren Peterson, if this is an off night or a bad game for Darren Peterson, you're still pretty excited, because if he can be a 57% shooter from the floor and give you 22 points and not really feel like he impacted the game as much as he could have, it's probably a good thing. That probably speaks to what we saw, or from what we should expect to see from Darren Peterson, who drew the defensive assignment from Seth Trimble. That's something that I kind of anticipated. If you heard me talk about it with, Jam Hines on Draft Sickos when we previewed this game, we both felt like Seth Trimble was going to get this matchup, and it only makes sense because Seth is one of the most versatile guard defenders in college basketball. Seth had a good game, by the way, but his impact felt like it caused Darren to be more off than what the numbers show, which again, if Darren is off and he's a 57% shooter from the floor, has 22 points and only 3 turnovers and one a freak save right into Caleb Wilson's hands, you really only call that 2 turnovers. That's still a really good game. The biggest thing that I took away out of the Darren Peterson performance tonight wasn't anything negative about him. I feel like we talked so much about Cam Boozer's off night, and there was still so much to love. You could still really see that with Darren Peterson. The only thing that I might be able to knock was just the fact that he has so much of a scoring responsibility on this team. How many assists is realistic for him? If he's giving you 3 assists in a game like this, should we expect more? I have so many questions when it comes to Bill Self, who obviously knows a thing or two about coaching, especially compared to little old me. But I have questions on this game and player management, stuff like that, because Darren needs people to be able to take the passes that he's giving and convert buckets. He can't be the only reliable scoring threat on a consistent basis. I'm not necessarily worried about Darren again. I'm just worried about how much he's going to have to show in games like tonight. And I said as much whenever I had Ryan Hammer here on the No Ceilings YouTube channel. I said that Darren Peterson's the number one storyline, not just because he could potentially be the first pick, but how is he going to integrate? How is Coach Self going to outfit this Kansas rotation to be able to accentuate Darren's gift? Right now, he's accentuating his scoring ability. How is he going to create easy looks for the rest of the team? So that's going to wrap up my point for Darren Peterson, who's my second point. Obviously, I had to start with Caleb Wilson being the number one point. I'm going to cheat because they're my rules. Typically, I'm only going to have 3 points that I want to make. I'm going to split three. I'm going to have a 3A and a 3B if it's okay with you out there. Thank you so much, everyone, by the way, for tuning in. I'm seeing the audience out there. You're all beautiful. I'm seeing, this freshman class is nuts. Kansas is no good without DP. Caleb Wilson, more like Paul George than Marvin Williams tonight. I'm seeing a lot of great comments in there. So thank you, everyone, for coming by. My third point, if I can go 3A, is Henry Vasar. Dude, if I'm coaching UNC, I am spamming the ever-loving crap out of these Caleb Wilson, Henry Vasar, high-low actions. And it doesn't matter who's high and who's low. We actually saw them kind of switch playing who's on the perimeter, who's in the post, because they can both pass the ball really well. Vasar dropped 20 points tonight and it felt quiet. He had 20 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 block, 8 of 12 from the floor, 2 of 5 from deep, 2 of 2 from the free throw line. And he was working hard. One of the things that I tweeted out watching the game tonight was how I was just so impressed by how Henry Vasar just seals off driving lanes and makes life easy for some of these guards that are playing out there, like Kyan Evans and Seth Trimble. Some of these guys who were just rolling to the basket consistently. I loved watching Vasar just do these little nuanced, more skill-based things as opposed to just grabbing and dunking, which he did that a couple of times tonight as well. Did have 4 turnovers. Didn't feel like it, though. It didn't feel like Vasar was one of these guys who was just consistently making mistakes out there. He played really, really hard. I was very impressed by just watching him play. And then the last guy I want to shout out, anybody who's subscribed to No Ceilings NBA, anyone who follows me, trust me, I was not very quiet about it tonight. I loved Bryson Tiller out there. And I'll be honest with you, when I wrote about him about 2 weeks ago now, over at NoCeilingsNBA.com, I wrote about Bryson Tiller. The name of the article, the title of the article was Bryson Tiller, Be Excited, Not Surprised. Now, I wrote that because once upon a time, Bryson Tiller was a highly touted recruit. He's playing at Overtime Elite. I've seen him. A lot of us at No Ceilings have seen him up in person. Some great things about him. You know, he was playing at Overtime Elite back when the Thompson twins were there. Alex Sarr was there. A bunch of high-end college prospects were still playing there. He shined in a lot of their outings. And I was just blown away at such a young age, how physically mature he was, and also how well-spoken he was. They called him the president in Overtime Elite just to go with how he carries himself, his demeanor, his presence, his calmness whenever he's not playing basketball. But when he's out there, he's playing like what we saw tonight. I was just so proud to just be a Bryson Tiller fan tonight. He had 12 points, 2 boards. He was 4 or 5 from the floor, 4 or 4 from deep. He did foul out with about 9 minutes left in the game, which I was a little sad about. But overall, I was happy to see him go out there and do things. If Coach Self, if you're listening, I get the fact that you might want to have a big in your back pocket if foul trouble like tonight exists, but you could be like Florida and just be huge and beat up on people. And I was pretty impressed with Mbia coming out and just watching his movement skills. More to come from that. But ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it tonight because this is not a podcast. we are going to wrap it up. I just want to thank you all for hanging out with us over here at No Ceilings NBA draft show here on No Ceilings NBA YouTube channel. I just want to remind you all too that tomorrow is going to be a loaded slate. Saturday, college basketball is coming. And with that, after the Arkansas Woo Pig Sooie versus Michigan State game, we will be live here on the No Ceilings NBA YouTube channel with the debut of the night shift, where we're going to hang out, talk about games, talk about prospects, all that fun stuff. So be sure to check us out for that. I see you in the chat. Everybody saying later, Norm Rad, you're a trooper, man. Love having you here. And I love everybody else that's watching, listening. While I got you, hit the like button. Also, hit the subscribe button. It's cheap and free and easy for you, and it helps us out tremendously. We want to get out there. We want to expand the No Ceilings universe, so help us do that. Hit those buttons, y'all. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace out.